My name is Kaylee, and in this video we're going to take a look at the discovery of a 12,000-year-old buried body of a female in Turkey that might have been a shaman. So this discovery was recently announced, but back in 2019 the remains of a woman were discovered and unearthed in the southeast of Turkey at the Çemka Höyük settlement that dates back roughly 12,000 years. Her body was discovered under a limestone slab under the floor of an ancient roundhouse building at the Çemka Höyük settlement along the banks of the Tigris River. It was very unusual to find her body alongside the remains of various animals, such as the remains of sheep or goats, partridge wings, marten legs, and the skull of an auroch. An auroch is the extinct wild ancestor of modern-day domestic cattle. The auroch skull was placed upside down on her chest during the burial. The jaw was separated from the skull and was placed resting at her feet. The limestone slab and the auroch skull placed at her chest seem to ensure that this woman is not returning from the dead. Or it could be that the auroch skull was placed at her chest to guard her body in the afterlife. Unfortunately, we will never know exactly why the auroch skull was placed there, to guard her in the afterlife or to keep her from returning from the dead. We will just simply never know. Because we can't go back in time and ask the people who did that. People, why? Tell us. What we do know is that the woman seemed to have died of natural causes between the ages of 25 and 30. Although she wasn't the only one buried here at Çemka Höyük. Another 14 people were buried beneath other buildings nearby. Burying the dead beneath the floor of a home was actually quite common during the pre-pottery Neolithic era. Although the archaeologists were a bit surprised that the woman's grave was covered with a large limestone block, which is quite unusual to have been done at a burial dating from this time. The burial, dating to over 12,000 years old, is exceptionally old. It stems from a period of time when humans in the world were still living as hunter-gatherers, although this particular area of the world has been known to surprise archaeologists with its early development of human culture. So this woman's burial took place before farm animals were domesticated, which suggests that the auroch skull found in her grave belonged to a wild animal. It seems that while aurochs wouldn't be domesticated for another few thousands of years, they were already a primary food source for hunter-gatherers living in this area. And there's a thing to note, these weren't simple hunter-gatherers though. As archaeologists are uncovering more settlements and evidence of human occupation in this area, things were much more complex for these hunter-gatherers living here 12,000 years ago. As we can see from their settlements, they were no longer nomadic people, but they seem to have settled at various locations throughout this landscape. For instance, the various Taştepeler sites in southeast Turkey, which include the most famous Göbekli Tepe archaeological site dating to at least 11,700 years ago. Some archaeologists believe that Göbekli Tepe is a temple, and others are of the belief that it's actually a settlement. As of now, it's unknown what purpose it served the people who once built it. But you can actually visit Göbekli Tepe in October with me, if you join my Turkey tour. We will also visit Karahan Tepe, which is another one of the Taştepeler sites, the Şanlıurfa Museum, the ancient tunnels of the underground city of Derinkuyu at Cappadocia, and so much more. I mean, let's be honest, it's going to be the trip of a lifetime, and I'm so excited. So I invite you to join me on this trip of a lifetime. You can find the links to the 2-week tour and the 1-week tour option in the description down below. Not in the comments. Some people were saying, I can't find the links in the comments. I don't put links in the comments usually. It's always in the description down below. Çemka Höyük is located near Bunkuklu Tarla, which as of this point in time is the oldest known structure to have been created by the hands of humans, as it is estimated to be at least 12,000 years old. So this entire area of southeast Turkey seemed to have been settled by the ancient Anatolians at least 12,000 years ago, and Çemka Höyük dates back to at least 12,000 years ago as well, and thus predates the famous Göbekli Tepe. The researchers have suggested that the unusual female burial here at Çemka Höyük may be a sign that the woman was a shaman, a person thought to have access to spirits, such as the spirits those thought to exist in animals. Or maybe ancestors, you know, possible. Unproven, but possible. Although the researchers also acknowledge the burial's strange features may be from different ritual practices, like for instance, animal worship, or metonymy, which is the idea that a bone from a bird's wing might cause flight. Or it could simply be from feasting rituals held during the burial rather than any kind of shamanism. Because the researchers are aware that shamanism is not the only thing that can cause a similar burial. But the reason they lean towards shamanism is the fact that no other burial at Çemka Höyük has shown animal bones to be buried with the deceased. Which makes this female burial an outlier, a unique burial among the regular ones. It could have been that this particular woman was a bit strange. I mean, I'm strange, so who's not to say that she was? But she could also have been particularly gifted in some way. She may have been a ritual practitioner, someone who remembered and carried out ritual practices for the community. It's all possible. It seems that around 12,000 years ago, the people living in this area were experimenting with new ways of living, like for instance, cultivating plants, herding animals, and new technologies. Their levels of insecurity and uncertainty would have probably become heightened, which would lead to a greater intensity of shamanistic practices. Archaeologists studying this area now think that ritual belief played an important part in the development of early societies, and this particular burial indicates that women were deeply involved. So it seems that way back in ancient times, the division between men and women wasn't always as great as it has been throughout history. More often, we find female burials which show great importance, which actually tells us that women weren't always looked at as lesser than men throughout history, at least not in ancient times. But my question to you is simple. What do you think of this latest discovery from Türkiye? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed watching, then don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to see more of these kind of videos, and click that bell icon if you want to be notified whenever I upload. If you haven't seen my previous videos yet, then click the card in the upper right corner or click one of the links in the description down below. I would also like to say a massive thank you to my patrons and my channel members. Thank you so much for supporting me. And if you want to support me once or through a monthly subscription, but you don't want to use Patreon or you don't want to use YouTube memberships, then go to historywithkaylee.live and you can do that. Feel free. And hopefully I'll see you in Türkiye. See you in the next video. Bye!